Hello everybody, welcome back to another video by Jay Bowman. Today I'm looking again at one of my favourite synths, which is the Mask1 Bitmask synthesizer by Kodamo. I have the old school keyboard version here, the OG. What I say I think will work equally for the new Mask1EX version, which some other people have. So what I want to do today is look at the Bitmask sequence, the secrets of the Bitmask sequence, and in particular octave switching. Now everyone who's watched this channel before is probably familiar what happens when you start with an init patch on the Mask1. You start with a single sawtooth wave by default. Now if you go into the Bitmask parameter and you cycle through the bitmasks going clockwise, which is the normal way, then you get this characteristic sound. So we start on Bitmask 7, which is the sawtooth wave, as you can see from this this list of prominent masks on the faceplate of the Mask1 OG. So let's hear what happens as we go clockwise through the Bitmask sequence. Okay, so as we go clockwise, every so often we drop down an octave. And I had kind of thought before I started to look into this in detail that happened every 16 or 32 bit masks. I wasn't quite sure. I knew that different bit masks in the sequence played at a different octave, but I wasn't really aware of what the formula or what the how those changes in octave related to numbers in the Bitmask system. Now that all changed this morning when I started to investigate in a more methodical way the bitmasks that you get when you turn left or turn anti-clockwise from Bitmask 7. So let's have a look at that. So you'll notice there that there's obviously only the bitmasks between 7 and 0 that we're going through there, not many. Now, what I want to do is change this oscilloscope to a tuner, and we'll investigate what happens as you go from bitmask 0 up through the sequence. So we're not starting at 7, we're starting at 0. So the tuner, although it's having a bit of difficulty, it thinks that this is F5, I think. F's. It's having difficulties deciding, but I think it thinks it's F5. Now what happens if we go up a bitmask from 0? Okay, so that's obviously, we've gone down an octave. So this must be F6. This is F5. Okay, this is F5. Sorry, I'm having a bit of difficulty because the oscilloscope tuner is really struggling. But okay, so that's clearly, so 2 is F5, 1 is F6, 0 must be F7. Maybe it's a bit clearer if I go into the FFT. Actually, we're too high there. So you can see there we have a frequency of around about 700. So the fundamental was around about 700. Now it's gone to around about 320 or so. And now it's gone to half of that, about 170. So already we can see that in the first 3 bit masks, we've gone down 3 octaves. Well, 0 is octave, let's say F7, 1 is F6, 2 is F5. Hopefully no one with perfect pitch is watching this video, because this is probably going to drive them crazy. So let's go up from Bitmask 2 to Bitmask 3. You'll see that didn't change pitch. Let's go from 3 to 4. 3, 4. So clearly we've gone down another octave there. So let's look at this again. So when we go from 0 to 1, we go down an octave. When we go from 1 to 2, we go down an octave. When we go down from 2, when we go up from 2 to 3, we don't go down an octave. But when we go from 2 to 4, we go down an octave. So if you're watching and following along at this point, you can probably guess when the next octave change is going to happen. Let's go through it in practice and see if it works out. So yes, when we go from 4 to 8, we go down an octave. And in fact, obviously, when we go up from 7 to 8, we go down an octave. So I think we're starting to see the sequence form that every time you double the bit mask position, you go down an octave. So 8, obviously we can tell from that 16 should be going down an octave. So let's try that. We'll go up from 8 to 16. Yeah, so from 8 to 16, we've gone down an octave. So if this theory holds out, then the next octave jump should be at 32. So let's go up from 16 to 32. Yes, now the actual timbre of 32, Bitmask 32, makes it quite hard to tell, but actually that is correct. So when you go up from Bitmask 31 to 32, you go down an octave. So obviously the next jump should be at 64, so let's try that. Now we're getting quite low in the octave, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to raise the octave so we can hear the next fall more clearly. Yeah, so we've gone down another octave at 64. So the next jump, or the next octave down, should be at 128. Let's go up another octave and on the keyboard, and let's go up to Bitmask 128 and see if that's where the next jump occurs. Yes, so the theory is holding out. Now we've run out of octave up buttons, so let's go into Bitmask itself and we're going to raise it to plus 36. Okay, so the next jump should be at 256. Let's test that out. Yes. And then the next jump, in theory, would be at 512. But we don't have 512. 511 is the maximum, is the highest number of bit masks that we've got in the Mask1 as things stand. So hopefully that is some useful information. What I'll say is that the documentation of the Bitmask sequence is quite scarce. I mean, Kodamo seem to be playing their cards quite close to their chest in terms of actually explaining what the Bitmask sequence is, how it came about, what its qualities are, why it was chosen to operate in that way. On top of that, the way that the Mask1 is set up by default almost seems designed to obscure that simple realization which I came to this morning. Because you start on 7 and then you have a jump down immediately as you go up to the next bit mask, and then the next one's at 16, it seems almost designed to confuse you so you don't realize where these octave jumps are coming. So it was a bit of a light bulb moment that went off in my head this morning when I realized that, so I thought I'd share that with you all. What are the implications of that? I think it's quite interesting when you realize that if you go down into the 0, 1, 2, 3, then you have octave jumps very close together. That could be useful. It's also useful to realize that actually the higher up in the bit masks you get, the more time you have, or the more modulation you get to carry out, essentially, before you then jump down another octave. So sometimes you want the octave jumps, sometimes you don't want them. If you know that, if you don't want an octave jump, then if you play between 32 and 64, 32 and 63 really, then you're going to stay in the same pitch, essentially. That's useful. And then the same as well when you go higher from 64 to 128, you've got a lot more range where you can change the timbre but not change the pitch. So that hopefully will be useful for other people. I think it's going to be useful for me. So if you've enjoyed this video, please give me a like and a subscribe. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you on the next video. Goodbye.